All right, thank you very much. Hello, everybody. It's your good friend Pozzible here, and I'm back in action with another look at another movie that came out not too long ago. When it comes to movies, ultimately, they're pretty simple animals. You either like them or you don't. And usually there's very little in between. And that's why my personal philosophy is to basically give movies either a see it, meaning you should watch this movie, I think it was good and I think you'll enjoy it, or a pass, meaning pass on this movie. I didn't like it and I don't think you'll like it either. That said, there's this very rare movie that fits so squarely in between, it's very hard to make that judgment call. And today's movie that fits that category is Don't Blink. Basically, you have the typical horror movie scenario. A group of friends, 10 of them to be exact, drive up to the cabin in the woods to relax for some, rest and relaxation. That said, the scenery is very eerie because they're all alone up there, even more alone than they expected to be. Not to mention the fact that when they also are up there and they're out of gas. In Don't Blink, I can't describe too much of what happens, but let me just say there's a tremendous mystery that threatens them all. And it's up to them to either solve the mystery or figure out how to survive, of which they decide to do really neither. They decide to just keep an eye on each other, and you'll understand why. But what happens, and the reason it happens, is really what makes this movie. When the movie starts, it's a very rough start. Typical horror beginning. They are driving up the mountain and they're talking to each other like good friends talk to one another. And then the horror starts, the group dynamic begins to fall apart, and one by one they are taken. How? Well, that's the part you have to watch the movie for. I can't give away too much information when it comes to this movie. I don't want to ruin it for you. But can I really ruin it for you? It's a rough start, but boy, as it takes off and as it starts to move forward and the horror makes itself known, that's the moment you're like, wow, this is actually pretty freaky and it's unsettling and all that. All the way up to the very end, where it has a pretty good ending in my opinion. But that said, this is one of those movies that's really hard to gauge just because it's so uneven. It has its really good moments, and it has its really bad moments, and it has its in-between moments. So Don't Blink is a movie that's all over the map. I liked it at the end. I almost shut it off at the beginning. It's really hard to say what you're going to do, so I'm going to have to ask you to decide. That way you'll do a little bit more research, decide for yourself if you think it's good. It's going to be a little bit of a gamble, don't get me wrong. It wasn't perfect, but then again, you got to remember, this is one of those lower budget movies, so you got to be a little forgiving. I found it entertaining. In the end, it's pretty good. Not too great, but pretty good. Alright guys, that's it for me today. We'll see you at the theaters.